Um, Hi, Dr. Alan. My name is Lewis, and I'm here to make a presentation on the first assessment, which is on the unit you're teaching us, software engineering. And I hope you enjoy this presentation again. So my choice of the choice of a topic I chose was the methodologies of waterfall and object-oriented approaches used in software engineering. So I'll start by describing software engineering, which involves analyzing and designing software systems, solving a specific task or a particular problem domain. Sorry, excuse me. The most common methodologies used in the software development are waterfall and object-oriented methodology. Of course, waterfall is the oldest methodology ever developed, and it's so easy to use. That's why most people prefer it, and which involves successive phases in a linear manner method of approach. So, and the object-oriented approach entails integration of software objects that works harmoniously towards ensuring creation of a functional system. So, in front of us, we do have the process of a waterfall methodology, which you said was a phase-to-phase kind of systematic drop. So, we start with the analysis, design, then implementation, testing, and maintenance. So, at the analysis stage, this is where we find our designers planning, the requirements analysis are laid out and specifications are also laid out at this stage. At the design stage, the designers are tasked with uh, designing the system and furthermore elaborating the specifications and laid out at this stage. At the implementation stage, this phase is where most of the coding is done and modules get tested. So at the testing stage, this is where we have of course, system functional and non-functional requirements are tested. They can either be via a code that there's a code that most systems there's a code that you implement in a system that codes that tests the system automatically, or you can test manually. And of course, the last stage is the maintenance, where at this stage we have after delivery and installation of the system, upgrades can be done, and further improvements of the systems and maintenance of the system is done. So, advantages of the waterfall methodology is that the phases of this methodology are clearly defined since a very simple structure. Yes, like we said, it's the oldest structure, the oldest methodology used in software engineering. At this stage, also the estimation cost of the whole project and are worked out and can be pre-timed before beginning the project. So designers and the stakeholders get to see and know the cost of the total project before it even begins. So, and also it's easy to document phases during software development. It's easy to document, like put things down on the board so that everyone can see clearly how much and what's going to take place at what time, and how much is going to be spent in terms of time, manpower, and resources that are going to be used. So the disadvantages of waterfall methodologies are the method can sometimes only realize errors at the end of the development process. So this is a major disadvantage of this process, and the method doesn't allow for flexibility in terms of adjustments when changing requirements. Let's say new trends are recognized during after the system is already put down on documentation. So it's really hard to make adjustments while using the system, because everything is pre-timed and predetermined before the whole project begins. So we get to talk about the object-oriented development methodology. This approach uses real-world processing using encapsulated objects with the attributes performing operations on them in order to modify the data to meet specific requirements. Through this software objects, through this method, Software objects are coded, implemented, and integrated into information systems. So the major advantages of the object-oriented methodology is that the methodology gives designers a chance for amendments to be made and changes to be made as they occur per user requirements. Potential risks are also easily identified. This method is more reliable since it allows for easy maintenance and upgrades made. Like I said, when trends are realized after completion of the whole process, this method allows for easy amendments to be made and changes to be made. And upgrades are easy to be made and easy maintenance of the system. So the disadvantage of object-oriented methodology is that this development technique can be very expensive compared to the waterfall technique, and it's also time-consuming and cumbersome. So the end of my presentation, we talk about the conclusion. Comparing the two methodologies of software development, we see that the object-oriented method is more flexible when it comes to making amendments and improvements of the system being developed, even though the method can be a little more complex and expensive to implement, whereas the traditional waterfall method is a little bit rigid but widely used since it is cheap and easy to implement compared to the rest of the software development methods. So thank you for your time, and my last slide is just the references where I got to get some of my work from, and thank you very much for your time. Good evening.